Welcome to Bloodhaus, the show where we talk about art house horror movies. I'm your host, Joshua Conkel.
And I'm just sitting on a porch playing guitar, playing banjo, hanging out, having a good time. This is the hangout
Love those
episode.
feuding
This is just bros
banjos.
being dudes time. Let's get a beer and listlessly lay down the river as we talk about how the environment is coming to an end.
How are you? What's going on? I saw you like 2 hours ago.
You did see me too. For listeners, again, I think it's mentioned before, we don't see each other that often outside of doing this over computers, despite the fact that we live in the same city, more or less. But we've seen each other so much in the past couple weeks.
Yeah,
it's been lovely. That's not like a bad thing. It's just unique. It's lovely. Yeah, I'm doing great. We both were just hanging out with previous guest and our friend John Nix and their partner over at the Pasadena City College flea market. We got there bright and shining early and hunted around and had a great day. I bought a fuck ton of VHS tapes and some lesbian pulp books, and I've had a hell of a time. I'm like, it's been a real lovely weekend. It's gorgeous in LA right now. It's nice and like really warm, really for the first time this year. It's like really pretty. And Ivor and I went to the Descanso Gardens in La Cañada yesterday because the cherry blossoms are blooming in the Japanese garden. It's so gorgeous out right now, and we've had like an incredibly stellar little weekend, and so this is a fun way to kind of start winding down.
Well, we do have some business to get to right at the top of this. We had a little giveaway where if people gave us a 5-star review on Apple, their name would go into a hat. And we have 2 winners. We put all the names in a digital hat and pulled 2 of them. We don't have permission to say these people's names, so I think I'll just say the winners are Keegan and Michael, and we are reaching out to you. We have already reached out to you by the time that this episode airs. So that's in process.
Congratulations to Keegan and congratulations to Michael. You will be getting your copy of either Cruising or Just to Kill soon. Congratulations and thanks again to our friends at Arrow for providing us with these lovely gifts to give to listeners, and also for hiring us to gab on audio commentaries and allow me to do some artwork. I'm so stoked about both of these releases. I think they're both absolutely stellar and the definitive versions of these movies, and so to be involved even a smidge of a bit, I'm over the moon and so goddamn proud of. So I'm so happy to be able to share this with the people that listen, because entirely like honest and open, we would never have been asked to do things like this if it wasn't for these people that listen and making the podcast what it actually is. So thank you so much for 3 years of Bloodhaus and for allowing us to do so much kooky weird shit like this.
I have been watching movies, as I'm sure you have too. I just went to Ojai for a couple of days, like midweek, for a little getaway. And they have a cute little one-screen theater there called Ojai Playhouse. And it was a rainy night, and they just happened to be doing a screening of the Royal Tenenbaums, which I had never seen on the big screen. It was so good. I mean, I love that movie. It's been many years since I've seen it, though. It's really interesting to watch it now because it's early Wes Anderson. And so the inside of the house is very twee and elevated and stylized. But other than that, it's just regular New York City.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about how if he made that movie today, like it would be all on sound stages. The whole world of it would be that level of twee, would be all dollhousey, sort of like French Dispatch was, which would be cool too. But I was just like, wow, he's really turned that up to 11 since Royal Tenenbaums.
Very, very much so. It's so funny where he has ended up to like go back and rewatch Bottle Rocket, where you're like, oh, you're just stealing locations and shooting
Yeah.
however you can. That's so antithetical to what we now see as his style. But to me, I think that stuff's super inspiring, because it's like you could spend your whole time being like, oh well, I want to film it like this, and we don't have the money, we don't have the budget and location to film it like that, so let's just not do it. But he made like Rushmore and Bottle Rocket are a lot more quote unquote rough and gritty than anything else he's ever made. But I think that adds a lot of charm that his contemporary movies are missing to a degree. But B, like, he's still able to do his thing within that mode, and he then got it out and got it made, and then he got more money for the next one, was able to do a little bit more on Rushmore, do it a little bit more on Tenenbaums, and now he does it just all the time. Asteroid City is like entirely on sound stages and a little bit on location.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Well, I love Asteroid City. For me, Asteroid City is his best movie since Royal Tenenbaums. Those are my two favorite. I felt like Asteroid City was underappreciated because people are a little bit sick of Wes Anderson.
Wait, you're saying the one about being a playwright is your favorite Wes Anderson movie?
Both of them. I mean, Margot Tenenbaum is like my soul sister. That's who I feel like I am. I'm so secretive. I was a secret smoker. I was a playwright who stopped writing plays because of a psychic block against them. I just have I have so much love for that character, and for Gwyneth Paltrow, a person in real life who I like sort of can't stand. I love Margot Tenenbaum so much that I forget that it's Gwyneth Paltrow.
She actually does fall into that character. That character's nothing like her, and she's an like absolute icon of an era and a point in time. Like that that kind of New York creative who's just kind of been there, done that, and she married a guy she thought was going to be richer than her and kind of wasn't, and so she just hangs out, and she uses her brains to tie a TV to a radiator so she can watch it from the bath all day long.
That's the other thing.
It's whatever.
When I get depressed, straight to the bathtub.
Same.
I'm exactly the same. The way that she spends 6 hours a day in the bathtub, it's like exactly same. So I got to rewatch that on the big screen, which was amazing. It was a packed house full of people who were laughing a lot. It just felt really cool.
I feel like people take that movie for granted. I feel like that movie, people are just kind of like, oh yeah, that exists. That's a dollar store movie, whatever. And don't sit with the magic of it. And it doesn't play in rep theaters as much as it should. Like, people freak out whenever Mulholland Drive plays in theaters. They came out the same fucking year. Like,
Royal Tenenbaums is an incredible movie. I feel like people's favorite Wes Anderson is the Grand Budapest Hotel. I hear a lot as people's favorite.
Tenenbaums are like the two.
Yeah, which I like that movie. I really like Wes Anderson in general. Even his bad movies, I still really like. He doesn't have any bad movies, but his like weaker movies, I still really like. Frankly, people who don't like Wes Anderson, just like across the board, I think are mean. I've said it before, and I think those people have no magic in their hearts. I think the criticism that he's too twee and cutesy kind of blithely glosses over the fact that his best movies are deeply sad.
Exactly.
So it kind of like cuts the sweetness of them a lot in a way that works really well. I just think he's a great director. I love him. Sorry to be basic, but I love Wes Anderson.
Have I ever told you that my mother hates Wes Anderson movies?
You have.
That, like, she was always weirded out when I would want to rent them from Blockbuster. And I remember when Moonrise Kingdom came out. I like was old enough that I could like drive myself to the mall to see it by myself, and I didn't have to have her bitch about it. And I saw it by myself opening day, loved it, and then months later, that movie was kind of a sleeper hit because Focus put it out. It like came out, kind of did nothing, and then they amped up the marketing, and then it became like similar to how they did with Conclave, honestly. And then like 3 months later, it was a much bigger hit. There was ads for it on TV everywhere. And my mom rented it from Redbox. And I came home one day to her watching it with my stepdad and his family. And I was like, that's so weird. Okay. And afterwards, I was like, what did you think of it? And she was like, something about him. I think he's gonna be arrested one day. I don't. He just always wants these kids like falling in love and stuff in his movies, and it feels weird. He's got them dancing around on the beach in their underwear.
Oh my
I don't
gosh.
know. I think we're gonna find out something about him someday.
Patty, don't start. I mean, I could see it happening. I won't lie, but I don't think he's like problematic or a creep personally. I think he's just a sweet person.
I think he's more, and this is accurate based on the things that we now know about him, is a straight white guy who's very into Asian women. And
sure.
Yep. Yeah, which that's not a bad thing, but it's a certain type of guy. There's a lot of certain types of straight white men that have a very specific thing for Asian women. They
Tarantino's thing is feet. Yeah. People Quentin Tarantino has a foot fetish, it's some big tell, and it's what is a perfect thing to do with your foot fetish? Put it in a movie. Yeah.
You know what? Who else did? Buñuel, and that's great.
Yeah, yeah. Not that. I mean, I don't know. Being a white man who's into Asian women as a fetish feels a little worse than a foot fetish because it's depersonalizing
depersonalizing a person and fetishizing a
depersonalizing
race and ethnicity.
Yes, that's weird, but I didn't know that about him. It does make a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Anyway. And then I watched this other thing that I've been meaning to talk about on the show. I watched it on Dropout TV, which is the only place you can see it. And that is a streaming service for comedy shows, basically. But it's this one-woman show called Vanessa 5000. Have I talked about this with you?
I've never heard of this ever.
So it's a comedian whose name is Chelsea Perduo, I think. Vanessa 5000 is a comedy show or one-woman show where she plays Vanessa 5000, who is a sex bot. And the whole hour-long show is her demonstration.
Oh my God.
And she's so funny, but it's and I actually heard about this from BJ Colangelo is who first turned me on to it. But she starts she's bugged, deprogramming, or what's the word I'm looking for? Glitching, sure. Yeah. So she is glitching. It's a demonstration of this sex bot right out of the box, and she's glitching, and there are musical numbers, and it just goes to these places that are so deranged and so funny and weirdly sad in moments. There's a moment where she spits in someone's mouth in the audience and she's she's an android, so she's would you like me to do an Urkel impression? And she's did I do that? It's just a terrible impersonation of Steve Urkel. It's so weird and demented and funny and weirdly sweet, and she's super hot and a really funny and talented performer. And I got the app just to watch it because a couple of people had told me about it, and it's so good. It's only $5 a month, but you could also cancel after a 7-day trial. It's so worth it. It's so funny, so weird, such a delight. It's called Vanessa 5000.
That's so funny. Courtney,
it's
Peroso.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. God. Not Chelsea. Oh my God. So funny. I laughed so hard. I was red in the face from laughter. It's so good. And then weirdly very touching too. It goes to very strange places. So I recommend it. How about you?
Oh my God. That's so fucking cool. I've been watching a ton of stuff lately. I don't know what to say. I've still been on a big noir kick. I've been watching a bunch of old film noir movies, and then also 70s neo-noir movies. I watched Across 110th Street on the Criterion Channel, which is
I love that movie.
Neo-noir meets blaxploitation with Yaphet Kotto, which is incredible outside of the fucking song itself being incredible. But the Noir Fest just ended here in LA, and you came with me along with our friend Jose and my partner to the end of Noir Fest, Noir City here in LA, which was a screening of the Wachowskis Bound.
Yes.
With a Q&A by Jennifer Tilly at the end.
Which was so insane, that Q&A. So she comes out. There's an interviewer there for her, presumably
it's Eddie
who has
Muller, the head of the noir of the Film Noir Foundation.
Right. Presumably he's got questions for her, but she sits down and just starts talking and does not stop talking for like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't think he asked her a single question, maybe one. She just like was going and going and going. It made me feel like I had a fever dream, but it was also really funny and very charming. And God, what a kook. I had no idea she was that kooky.
I adore her. It was so funny because we knew she was going to be there because she was billed, and we were like sitting in a row waiting for the show to start, and the Don Mancini sat behind us because we're like, oh, yep, he's absolutely here with her.
Yeah.
They are attached at the hip. It was so fun. I love that movie, and it made so much sense to walk in there and see the whole crowd was nothing but like lesbian couples and like trans people, and like this is the audience for the Wachowski fucking lesbian neo-noir movie. Yeah, this makes so much sense. And I don't think Eddie Muller from the Noir Foundation had clocked that. I think he was still like acting like he was hosting TCM or hosting any of the other noir screenings that they have had there, which I've been to a few, and they're lovely, but they're like mostly middling crowds of middle-aged white men, not made of transbian polycools, wearing dog collars to the film noir screenings. And so, I think some of those elements of the Q&A were not so well handled by the moderator.
Yeah.
But Jennifer Tilly was incredible.
Yeah, the moderator like kind of kept dead naming the Wachowski sisters.
And kept bringing up the transition as if it was like a trivia note.
Right. And I heard a lot of people around us make little comments that they were offended, and I totally get it. I winced for sure. My read on it was sort of that like he just didn't know any better. He's like an older man. It didn't feel malicious, but it was
very much so.
A bit careless.
It's like as the closest I could ever describe is not reading the room in terms of like literally looking at the audience in front of you.
Yeah.
Again, none of it was like bad or malicious. It's just literally like, I don't think this guy has an awareness of it, which is crazy though, since like I know he's based out of San Francisco, but like
right. Yeah, I remember before the movie started, I was like, wait, who directed this again? And you're like, Josh, the Wachowski sisters. And I was like, oh, right. And you're like, why do you think this theater is full of trans women? And I was like, oh yeah, it is. I did notice that.
I mean, I don't know how that's different than you going anywhere in LA though.
I know, it's true. For a cisgender person ish, I have like so many trans people in my life. Like I feel like
we're everywhere. The splinter cell's about to rise.
I don't know why I'm like a magnet for trans people, but I do seem to be, which is great. I haven't seen this movie since the 90s, since it came out, and so it was a real treat to watch it again. It's really good, like legitimately good.
Really good. It's such a like stripped down, no holds bar banger, and it's such a like first movie in the way that people made in the 90s, especially of like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna be able to make a movie again. I want to prove to you that I can make a fucking movie. So every single shot is like whip and zoom, and like everything is as clever as it could possibly be without being obnoxious. It's like right on the line, and it's so fun, and the writing is so good. And every time I watch it, I end up doing Joe Pantoliano's thick Chicago accent for like a week after.
It's so good.
It's fucking dark in here. Yes, Gino, I understand. Oh my god. You fucking dyke. It's... I love Joey Pants.
I love him so much. I know.
Yeah. What were you going to say?
No, nothing. Go.
I love that movie so much. I I feel like I've talked about it ad nauseum since I did the artwork for the Criterion release, but like it is one of my favorite movies ever. But something that I love about it that I feel like never gets brought up, despite the fact that it's very much at the core of the movie, is that between Jennifer Tilly and Gina Gershon, Jennifer Tilly's the top. Like,
yeah,
very
totally.
much so. She, like,
Yeah.
the Eddie Muller kept talking about how, like, you know, Gina Gershon's playing the man's role and Jennifer Tilly's playing the woman's role. But, like, even within that, like, inaccurate gender binary of those two characters,
Yeah.
like, Jennifer Tilly's character is the, like, quote-unquote sexual aggressor of the two. And on top of that, throughout the movie is presented as the top in the relationship, and Gina Gershon is presented as the sub. Like, she's, like, a lot more butch, and she's, like, you know, wearing, like, men's underwear in some scenes, and is always wearing the little, like, black and white tank tops, and, like, she's doing her little handyman work. But as soon as Jennifer Tilly comes anywhere near her, she's, like, a puddle at her feet and is, like, whimpering.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that dynamic so much.
They're both so hot in this movie, but for me, like Gina Gershon is so masculine that me as a gay man, I'm really into her. Like, especially in the leather jacket, I was like, fuck, I would bottom for Gina Gershon.
The, like, way too oversized men's leather jacket that's definitely too big for she looks so good.
It's so chic. Yeah, it's such a good look.
Yeah, I've had this conversation many times with friends and therapists in the past, but Gina Gershon and Bound and, like, Joan Jett are, like, the two, like, gender goals. Very much.
Yeah.
That's
those are good ones.
Aim, very much so.
Very similar too.
Very similar vibe, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Love that movie. It was so special to get to see it in theaters with such a big, deeply gay crowd that applauded so hard when the villain got killed. Absolutely lovely. But I did want to mention one other movie I watched this week. That's a new release and is, like, totally gone under the radar. Ivory and I had to rent it over on Fandango because it's not streaming anywhere. We've been tracking it since it was released in England last year, and it just never got a US theatrical release at all. We were, like, waiting patiently, and then all of a sudden it just showed up on Fandango rental. Right? And it's the new film directed by Alice Lowe, who made Prevenge. Alice Lowe, who's also the writer and comedian, comic actress who was in Hot Fuzz, and she was in Sightseers and Kill List, the Ben Wheatley films, and her new movie is called Timestalker, and it co-stars Nick Frost and Tanya Reynolds from Sex Education, and Jacob Anderson from the recent Anne Rice series on AMC. Mike Wozniak of Taskmaster fame also pops up for a second.
Yeah.
It's so fun. It's so cool. Josh, I think you would really, really, really like it. It's very much a lo-fi indie kind of slightly supernatural comedy out of England. Written, directed, and starring Alice Lowe. She plays a woman throughout time that consistently falls in love with the same man, and through one way or another he rejects her and it leads to her death, and she just keeps not learning her lesson through time, and so everyone keeps playing essentially the same archetypes. It starts in the 1600s, and the guy that she falls in love with is accused of practicing witchcraft. And in an attempt to defend him, she slips and is beheaded. Like, grotesquely. The gore moments are really gory because she is a big horror fan. A lot of it is, like, set around the Regency period. It, like, keeps progressing in time. There's a very iconic sequence where she gets a pink wig that's, like, in the shape of a heart. She keeps being, like, paired up with Nick Frost as, like, this awful abusive husband, while she keeps, like, mooning over this like hot boy who never has any interest in her at any point. And her best friend, played by Tanya Reynolds from Sex Education, is like clearly in love with her and clearly like trying to get her to like reciprocate feelings. And she's just so like wistless and doesn't care. And it kind of all comes to a head. Like she keeps dying and it keeps jumping forward in time, and it kind of ends up coming to a head with a lifetime that she's leading in the 1980s. At like the height of the New Romantics and like Adam Ant and all those musicians that were then referencing those points in time.
Yeah.
It's so fun. It's so funny. It's so inventive on a small budget. I think you would have so much fun with it. Mike Wozniak is great as always. Jacob Anderson is so goddamn hot and so fucking good in it. The ending is incredible. I really, really, really loved it. The poster for it, or I guess the original poster for it, the one that's on Letterboxd at least, is just her like floating head with the big heart-shaped wig and like guns and bows and not like swords coming out of it. And then she's got like the adamant war stripe across the bridge of her nose, and she's wearing an eye patch and she's blowing bubble gum. It's so good. It's called Timestalker, and you can rent it for like $3 over on Fandango. And that's the only way to see it. And the distributor that is putting it out here in America, I've never heard of in my entire life. I mean, her last movie was like a Shudder original. So like, I don't know.
Yeah. Alice Lowe is the woman from Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. Is that right?
Yes. She was also in Dark Place.
God, she's so funny. Yeah. I love her.
And like she was interviewed for Kayla Janice's Woodlands Dark and Days Bewitched documentary. She's in Paddington. She's in the first Paddington movie. Like she's incredible. If you haven't seen her directorial debut, Prevenge, it's a Shudder original.
I didn't actually see that.
It's very
I meant to
good.
see that and I never did. Yeah.
She's so goddamn talented.
Speaking of so good and so goddamn talented. Today, we are watching a movie from 1972, a classic. It is by director John Boorman. It is Deliverance.
These are the men. Nothing very unusual about them. Suburban guys like you or your neighbor. Nothing very unusual about them until they decided to spend one weekend canoeing down the Cohulawasi River. Ed Gentry, he runs an art service. Wife Martha has a boy, Dean. Lewis Medlock has real estate interests, talks about resettling in New Zealand or Uruguay. Drew Ballinger, he's sales supervisor for a soft drink company. Bobby Tripp, bachelor, insurance and mutual funds.
Will you go in? All right, I'm looking.
These are the men who decided not to play golf that weekend. Instead, they sought the river.
So I have a weird kind of history with this movie, but you just saw it for the first time. So
yeah,
what did you think of it?
I was surprised and blown away. I very much grew up in the Midwest with what I like to refer to as an adventure dad. My father like loves Burt Reynolds movies. He looked like Burt Reynolds in the 80s. My dad loves to go skiing. He loves to go rafting. He was a former scuba instructor. Like he got us dirt bikes and bottomed out our college savings accounts. And would take us to dirt bike tracks in Kentucky. All this for better or worse, mostly worse. And so and he would like talk about Deliverance, but he would only ever talk about the one famous scene and make jokes about it.
Yeah.
And so for years, I was always kind of like, I know what that is, whatever. I'll put that to one side. And I really love Burt Reynolds movies myself. Like over time of like really fallen in love with the Cannonball Run franchise. I really fallen in love with Hooper. I think, the end is super fun and funny. I think he's an incredibly talented actor, and like as charming as all hell. And so I've been watching a lot of his stuff in the past like 5-10 years as like a comfort watch.
Yeah.
And Ivory always makes fun of me for having dad taste for watching these
You do
dad
have
movies.
dad taste, yeah.
And this one is a dad movie, but I always avoided it. But it's started coming back around. I had something. Oh, I probably should watch that. Ivory has seen it. Ivory's a fan of it, and so I've owned a copy, some cheap like $5 Blu-ray of it that I was able to find at a thrift store or something, just for years. And so when you mentioned that you wanted to do it for the podcast, I was like, oh my god, I can finally watch this and check this off my list. And I had this vision in my head of what this movie was going to be, which in retrospect is much more of an 80s version of this, much more like a Reagan version of this, of like, oh, these guys are going into the backwoods and they're going to go in and they're going to be stalked and they're going to be hunted, and they've got the hunted become the hunters, and they've got to start like setting survivalist traps, and they're going to start like, they're going to bring out their military background and they're going to start killing these men and all this stuff.
Right. You thought it was like a Rambo version.
Exactly. I was like, oh, that's what it's going to turn into. That's not even remotely what it is, but that's kind of what the characters have in their heads rather than what the movie itself is.
Yeah.
I was blown away. I really love it. I was on the edge of my seat, and I have had so many conversations about this movie in the like 48 hours since watching it that are so in depth and like so fascinating. And I think this is an endlessly fascinating movie. And I think it has a reputation because of its locale and because of its cast and because of its era as being like a masculine man conservative movie. And no, that is
not really.
It could not be further from the truth.
I mean, this movie makes sense when you think that they originally wanted Sam Peckinpah to direct it. You know what I mean? Like, it's in the same space as Straw Dogs, and it's like in their very early 70s as kind of a reaction to maybe feminism and some other cultural shifts. There was this big question amongst male filmmakers about masculinity in America, and like the question of like, is there violence inside the heart of the most mild-mannered modern man?
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
I talked about Straw Dogs a lot with Ivory.
A brilliant
after this
movie.
movie was over. There's a lot of similarities to them. I mean, both of them have the one thing that they're famous for, which is pretty similar. But they both handle them in different ways, and the controversies around both movies are different based on the gendering of the two movies.
Yeah.
It's also interesting that they originally wanted Marlon Brando and Lee Marvin to be the leads in this movie.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, they also approached Donald Sutherland and Charlton Heston for Lewis at various points.
Jack Nicholson was offered at one point, and he said, only if Brando is in it with me. And Brando said, there's no way in hell.
So I think that this movie is really brilliant. I think it's a very well-made movie. And so I want the listener to understand that as a given before I say the next things, which are that this movie has a really complicated legacy for me in two ways. The first is that it is like the source of a lifetime's worth of homophobic jokes.
Yes.
Like, you sure got a pretty mouth, squeal like a pig. Of course, you know, I'm referencing the famous male rape scene in this movie. That's not the movie's fault, of course. Like, the movie handles that subject matter very seriously. But I still like have lived with those jokes for 44 years. And so I don't know what to do with that. I mean, it's not the movie's fault because the movie handles those really well and with a lot of gravity. And so, but our culture doesn't, I guess. Our culture doesn't take that issue very seriously. And I don't know what else to say about that. It's just an awkward thing.
It's very, very upsetting. I mean, I frequently think about Ned Beatty all the time because of that, who is the actor that was involved in that scene. This was his first movie. Yeah. This is the thing that first made him famous. It's the first thing he ever did on camera.
This was Ned Beatty's first movie? I knew it was Ronnie Cox's first movie.
Both him and Ronnie Cox were just theater actors in New York that John Borman discovered.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And Ned Beatty was the only one of the cast who had any experience whitewater canoeing or rafting before.
Yeah. I also read that Burt Reynolds insisted on doing one of his own stunts, I
And
guess,
you
where
can
he
tell
goes,
what stunt it is while watching the movie.
well, he goes over a waterfall and ended up having to go to the hospital. And then he woke up at the hospital, asked John Boorman, the director, like, how did it look? And John Boorman was like, it looked like a dummy going off a waterfall.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's that piece. And then the second piece is like maybe more specific to me, which is that I'm from Appalachia. I'm from Eastern Kentucky. I had this accent when I was a little kid. My whole family is from Appalachia for about 200 years on both sides. So I'm the first person who's left Kentucky in my whole family. And when I did leave, you know, kids would like make that, you know, people would make that banjo sound after they heard my mom talk, things like that. And I've been working on a project for a year and a half set in Appalachia. And it's really hard to get people to care about it. And I just want to say this about the movie. Appalachia is the poorest region in the United States by a lot. I think most Americans, or frankly, anyone from the first world, would be shocked at the levels of poverty in Appalachia. There are plenty of people that don't have electricity or running water or plumbing of any kind. And nobody cares about them. And when I started working on this project, I was telling my dad about it, and he got quiet. And I said, "What's wrong?" And he said, I think you're making a mistake. He's like, nobody cares about those people. And, you know, they're just like some of the most marginalized people in the
world.
country.
Yeah.
And in the world, frankly. And just like nobody cares about them at all, to the point where, you know, I'm in LA, I'm at a dinner with like bleeding heart leftists. And this part of the country will come up and they will just say the most casually cruel things that you can imagine, forgetting that I'm from there, of course. And then I watched this movie, and then I went to the Letterboxd. Letterboxd is full of like, you know, woke people. And I scrolled and scrolled and scrolled, and not a single person had anything to say about Appalachia in regards to this movie. And so there's all of that. And I will say that the movie's less responsible on this front because, you know, they take a normal 15-year-old boy and put makeup on him and coach him to seem like he is a simpleton or inbred. They use a disabled little girl, you know, like they're casting people in a way to make it seem like they're inbred. All of that stuff actually really bothers me. And I feel awkward saying it because I'm always criticizing people for being sanctimonious about this sort of stuff in regards to movies. But I do feel that way. I feel like a little bit upset about the representation of Appalachia in this movie.
Yeah.
And the people where this is filmed also feel that way. There's actually a documentary called Hillbilly, and one of the people it catches up with is the little boy from Deliverance, who's just a totally normal boy. Now he's an elderly greeter at Walmart in Georgia. Oh. And he was like, I just really didn't know that was the tone of the scene. You know what I mean? He's just like a totally normal kid. And I think it's a little bit cruel, but I feel complicated with that because also the characters that Burt Reynolds and Ned Beatty play are being cruel to them. So they seem like the bad guys too. So I'm a little bit on the fence about this myself.
Yeah. I mean, both the director and the cinematographer, John Boorman and Vilmos Zsigmond, two of the like best filmmakers in that era at the top of their career. People can fight me on John Boorman being great because they don't like Exorcist 2, but watch Point Blank and tell me he's a bad director and I will fucking like throw down. He is incredible.
This movie's beautifully directed. I don't think that can be debated. Yeah.
Like Sir John, he's been knighted. Sir John Boorman is incredibly talented. He also made Excalibur.
Great movie too. I love that movie.
Right. And he wanted Vilmos Zsigmond to shoot this because Vilmos Zsigmond was filming documentary footage during the Prague Spring, like as Russian tanks rolled in, and he was like, if you can film that, you can film some guys whitewater rafting and stuff. That this will be nothing for you. But Vilmos Zsigmond, an incredible cinematographer. His images are always stunning, and his images in this movie are stunning. There's so many beautiful shots. And I was reading an interview with John Boorman talking about this, and he was like, yeah, once we got the dailies back from the lab, we realized we had to desaturate a lot of the film stock because it looked too beautiful. The river looked too gorgeous. The sky, like all the scenery looked too pretty. We had to
The
like
nature
bring
is
it back
beautiful.
down. It's
Yeah.
gorgeous. And throughout the movie, Ivory and I kept being like, they could never make this today. They would never make a movie like this today. I mean, in so many reasons, but the instant thing was like, oh, they would never actually put actors in canoes on a river today. They would never
Yeah.
put like the star of the prior year's best picture winner in a fucking canoe on a river with like one cinematographer and be like, all right, go have fun. We don't have health insurance. Like this movie also had no insurance, no production insurance. But on top of that, the other thing that I was like, oh, there's no way they would make this today, is that there's no inciting incident on page 10, right? The first 30 minutes are like, we're gonna hang out, and it's like it takes the whole first day into the next day for anything to quote unquote happen. But like it's a hangout movie for the vast majority of the beginning, which is so important to setting the tone and the vibe of the movie.
Yeah, it's totally got that shaggy 70s structure and pace, which I happen to love. And it's funny, you know, we actually don't know much about these men. I was surprised to learn pretty late into the movie that they don't even know each other that well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just not important. And the movie is wise enough to know that their backstories are not important. What we need to know about them is that they're from the city, they are in the country, and they have a shit ton of hubris. They think that they're above nature. They think that they're above these mountain people, and they're woefully mistaken.
We don't need to learn these things about them in like flashback. We don't need to see them like buying the gear. We don't need to see them packing for the trip. Literally, the Warner Brothers logo sets up to the four of them laughing.
Yeah.
And then you're
having
like in it
time
from there. So you get that these guys are a crew, and we can like learn elements throughout them. Like at one point, Ned Beatty's like, I don't need to be doing this. I'm a salesman. And you're like, oh my God, that's his job.
Yeah.
Whoa, he's a salesman. You find out through dialogue and through behavior that one of the characters you don't find out has a wife and a kid until they're dead.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. Like Burt Reynolds, you know, he's presented as this macho guy who's like taking him on this tour, and he's got the big truck and he's got the like really pro gear. He's like wearing the cropped wetsuit with the sleeves
which
cut
is
off.
So hot.
Deeply
so
iconic.
Hot.
They don't make wetsuits like that. He did that. And with like the professional like crossbows in the back of the truck, and he's like, I know where I'm going. I can't wait to take you guys down to this river. And as soon as he's like driving, whipping through the fucking backwoods, and then makes a wrong turn, you're like, oh, you don't know where you are. You don't know anything. You're a fucking moron.
Yeah, right away, without saying it, we know that his character is full of shit. Like, he thinks that he's some sort of great outdoorsman, blah, blah, blah. We know right away, without the movies really telling us explicitly, that he's just some city boy who thinks that he can tackle nature.
Who fetishizes this part of the country as being like, it's purer, it's simpler back there, without like ever putting a thought in
but then is like exceptionally cruel to the people that live there. You know? And Ned Beatty too is also pretty shitty. The other
Ned
two
Beatty's
characters,
the meanest of them.
Yeah, the other two are Drew and Ed, and they're a bit more thoughtful and normal. Ed has the great iconic dueling banjos with the little boy, who's not a little boy actually. He's 15 years old. He's just very small.
Yeah, and he's also not playing that banjo. They had someone put their arms around him behind and play the banjo for him.
The Wikipedia says that he got the role because he could play the guitar. Now, I don't know if that's overstated and that he like couldn't play that, but apparently he did know how to play the guitar.
I'm sure he knew how to play the guitar, but the banjo is very different from the guitar. Banjo is really hard, and that banjo part is not easy on top of that. So they had someone else sub in. I don't know if Ronnie Cox... I don't think Ronnie Cox either played his part either. Ronnie Cox can play guitar and can sing, and is very talented. Ronnie Cox, who listeners may recognize from RoboCop or The Car. This is his first role, and he there's very much like a spectrum of masculinity between these four men. Ronnie Cox is one far end, and Burt Reynolds is the other. And of course, by the midpoint of this movie, they've come to a head. But Ronnie Cox, he's got the bucket hat, he's got the little glasses, he brought a guitar on a camping trip. So like he's the hippie of them, right? This is 1972, 1971. He is the holdover of the 60s. He has the rose-colored glasses about all of this. And then you've got Jon Voight, who is the top billed lead of the movie, because this is right before Burt Reynolds became famous. This is like what made him famous, and the famous like nude on the bearskin rug spread was to promote this movie, which is wild.
I love that.
Jon Voight is wearing a bucket hat to the majority of the movie, and he's got a little pipe that he holds onto for dear life throughout the movie. And so he's got his little glasses, so he's presented as being like almost as soft as Ronnie Cox, but not nearly, because he's the one who's friends with Burt Reynolds. He's the one who keeps going on hunting trips with Burt Reynolds. He wants to be this. He has his own crossbow. It's not as nice as Burt's crossbow, but he owns a crossbow and he wants to be that man, but he isn't. And then Ned Beatty's just the capitalist fucking suburban piece of shit who keeps saying, I'd rather go golfing. We should just go golfing.
Well, he's not wrong. I mean, they were better suited to golfing. They'd all be alive if they had gone golfing in Atlanta where they belong. Two things about the cast. I'm ashamed to admit that my whole life until watching this week, by the way, I've seen this before too. So let that color this anecdote. If you said the name Warren Oates to me, the person that I'm seeing is Ned Beatty. I thought that Warren Oates was in this movie. I just completely combined these two men in my head my entire life.
I promise you, if they had gotten Sam Peckinpah to play this, Warren Oates would have been in the Burt Reynolds role.
Yeah, I mean, he would have been great. Burt Reynolds is great too, but. And then the second thing, I was watching this movie and Joel came through and I was like, look, it's Angelina Jolie's dad, as a joke. And he was like, oh, he's an actor? And I was like, babe, it's Jon Voight. And he was like, oh, right. I always forget that.
Midnight Cowboy. Donald Trump's ambassador to Hollywood, Jon Voight.
Crazy.
Star of Super Babies, Baby Geniuses 2, and The Karate Dog, Jon Voight.
Man, how the mighty have fallen.
What a piece of shit. I don't know. He was the biggest name in this movie from a marketing perspective, but he was also he wasn't doing well, like acting wise and like career wise. Like Midnight Cowboy came out in '69 and put him on the map and it won Best Picture. And the only like big thing he did after that was Catch-22, which was a bomb. And then he did two movies in between. One came out and bombed, and the other was perceived to be so poorly made, it was shelved for a few years and unreleased. And so when Deliverance came around and the budget was slashed and they couldn't afford the actors they wanted, they just had to get whoever was available. And Jon Voight was like, I need something to help my career, and this sounds like it'll be a good movie. So he signed on.
Yeah, he was right.
And he was right, but then this was the only movie he made in the 70s that like turned a profit. So the remake of The Champ is dog shit. Like
this movie has very strong environmental themes. Of course, they're whitewater rafting on a fictional river. It's filmed on the Chattanooga River, but it's a fictional river in the story. And it is going to be dammed up and turned into a lake. So it's kind of like their last chance, they think, to see this land. And, Burt Reynolds' character, Lewis, feels like he is very close to the earth. He's a hunter. He's an outdoorsman, which is
he's a 1970s
bullshit.
version of a doomsday prepper who keeps talking about like, one day this system's going to collapse, man, and I'm going to be ready. They're like,
yeah, totally.
Are you sure?
I think you'll be fine. And this is a time that people were starting to be more concerned about the environment. We had Earth Day was created in 1970, I think. You had the very famous 1970s what's it called? A commercial where it's like a public service announcement. The Crying Indian ad is what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah,
very famous from the 70s. So it was just like
the concept of polluting and of littering and all of those things was like becoming like buzzwords and being brought to people's consciousness.
A lot of people don't know that America was dirtier then than it is now because of, you know, the Environmental Protection Agency and things like this. Our rivers were just like full of toxic waste. The sky was orange from smog. You know, America is cleaner now than it was then because of this sort of politic that was put into action in the 1970s. We have the risk of going the other way. And of course, global warming in terms of the globe is not so great now, but like our cities are a lot cleaner than they were in the 70s.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like the person that, like, from a contemporary lens, people view as being a big proponent of that at the time, who very much was kind of the figurehead of early environmentalism, is involved with Deliverance, and that's Jimmy Carter.
Yeah.
This movie was, you know, the book and stuff, it's set just vaguely in Appalachia. It's never super specific.
It's Georgia. It's northeastern Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah.
When Burt Reynolds was signed on, they wanted to move it to Florida because Burt Reynolds is from Florida and he was like going to set them up down there. The governor of Florida said no. And so Burt Reynolds owned vacation property in Georgia and was buddy with Jimmy Carter, who, you know, was just the governor at the time. And Jimmy Carter said yes and allowed them to make the film and supported them and gave them tax breaks to make the film. And because of the success of Deliverance, Burt Reynolds and Jimmy Carter started conversations that turned into the Georgia Film Commission. So
yeah,
all of the productions that are now made in Atlanta and in Georgia, which is a fuck ton, are because of Jimmy Carter and Deliverance. Which is amazing.
Totally. It's amazing. And Georgia is like the number one filming location in America. I think it's more than LA now, even, because a lot of production has left LA. And then, you know, there's Vancouver, but that's not in the United States. So it's like Vancouver. If you're working on a TV show, you're going to shoot probably in Vancouver or Georgia.
Yeah.
Like those are your choices, more or less.
So the thing that really struck me about this movie, other than Roddy Cox's character having my name, which made me go, oh, hope he makes it out alive. Oh, uh-oh.
Oh, no.
I mean, the cinematography is absolutely gorgeous. The score, which is just guitar and banjo for the majority of it, there's like some eerie kind of atonal things that pop in here and there, but it's almost score free. When score comes in, it's just guitar and banjo to echo that opening scene. It's not until the very end of the movie that we get anything that's lower than a guitar register. We get bass notes finally near the end to like amplify the tension. But it's really, really sparse. The way it takes its time to set scenes up in the whole first half of the movie, that once things start turning south, it feels really natural. It feels like an even flow. The infamous assault scene starts, it's all done in almost entirely long takes. So everything feels like it's all in daylight. So like, oh, we're right by the river's edge. We're going to talk to these guys. And then it just keeps spinning out. And almost every scene like that happens. But what really blew me away, and we can mark this as being a spoiler point, so you can jump ahead from this point if you have to, but I'll do my best to not be super specific, is that these guys are the villains of the movie. These four leads are the fucking villains of the movie. And yes, they do get, held at gunpoint and they do get severely assaulted. But also, they were the ones who made the decision to start like walking up to the guys in the woods with a shotgun when they should have still been on the fucking river. They never should have gotten out of the river for any reason. They never should have started talking to those guys, period. But on top of that, Everything after that is their fault. All the deaths that follow are their fault. And it's all out of their paranoia and bigotry and hubris that as soon as something bad happens, Burt Reynolds says, they're after us. They're coming after us. I know what's going on. We can't leave because this is happening. And horrible things end up befalling Burt Reynolds because they stayed. They stayed there overnight for a day and a half and fucking an infection set in. Because he's a paranoid piece of shit idiot.
Yeah, he just totally made up something that doesn't happen in my reading of the movie. I mean, there is like a debate around this subject about what actually happened to Drew.
I think it's obvious that he was shell-shocked. He should have never been at the front of that canoe. He should never been at the front of the lead canoe. He was clearly shell-shocked from that fucking incident. He was in shock. Yeah. So of course he's going to freeze up, and right as they're going into the rapids, that's what happened. And also, he wasn't wearing his life jacket, which is flagged up. But also, they're three unexperienced canoers. Burt Reynolds should have been in the lead the whole way through. He should have been in the lead position in the lead canoe. That's like safety fucking 101. So that Drew's death is entirely on Burt Reynolds' character. And to a smaller degree, the next person's death is on Burt Reynolds, but it's entirely on Jon Voight. And I was talking to Ivory about this. I love how this movie's events kind of act as a prism to the characters. It distorts them all from the beginning to the end. Burt Reynolds, who starts as the big macho guy who's gonna like fuck around and find out, ends up a sniveling, whining mess by the end of the movie, which is hysterical to me. And Jon Voight, who's like on a quest to prove that he's a man. He tries to kill a deer in one scene and he just can't do it. And he's like, he's not as much of a man as Burt Reynolds is, but one day he will be. And when he finally decides to man up, he ruins his life. He absolutely in every way possible ruins his life. It's almost funny if it wasn't so fucked up and horrifying. And I also wasn't expecting so much of the end of the movie to take place after the river.
I always forget that all of that. I forget all of that happens, which is really good. And that's actually a nice part because, you know, there's like regular people who take them in and take care of them. And I'm like, okay, so there are regular people in this region. Some lovely old people.
I don't think this movie is as biased against the actual denizens of Appalachia as people think it is. I think this movie is a lot more sympathetic to them because and I think it's playing on people's prejudices and expectations to be wary of them. Because near the beginning of the movie,
that's interesting.
They hire two local men to drive their cars to the end of the river so that the cars will be waiting for them when they're done with their trip. And they keep being like, "Oh, these fucking guys are scary. Don't pick a fight with these guys. Don't barter or haggle with these guys." It's like, I don't know. Can we trust these guys? They keep being like, "These guys are weird. We shouldn't do this. We should just go back home." And then by the time they get to the end of the river, the cars aren't there when they first get to the end of the river. And Jon Voight's got to walk for a while, and it keeps making you be like, "Oh, and now your cars aren't going to be there, and you're stuck, and they're going to be." And then the cars are there. They're there waiting with the keys in them. And there's a the like background aspect that you mentioned that the river is going to be flooded. This whole town's going to be flooded. So everyone's packing up their belongings. And a family is sitting there in a truck packed up to the brim as if it's the grapes of wrath, being like, "Oh, you were the guys waiting for the car." Like, people could have stolen these cars, but they didn't. These people are fine and normal. Like, Burt Reynolds has a whole spiel about how, like, if we tell people about this and get the cops involved, then there's going to be a jury, and the jury, these people are all fuck each other, and the jury's going to be nothing but their cousins, and we're going to be railroaded out of here. And the law does get involved, and that's not what fucking happens.
Right. They get away with it because of their class privilege. I take your point. And I realize that I'm being a little sanctimonious because I'm sensitive about this subject, but they are, and the movie does show them being really unkind towards the locals, and they do show a lot of hubris, which gets them in trouble. And you're right, it is their fault, except for the, of course, the sexual assault. but it's almost like the movie can't resist. It's still like puts makeup on a little boy to make him look like he's inbred. It still shows a little girl with no arms or legs. It's, you know what I mean? It's like it can't resist doing those things, and I wish it maybe did.
that to me strikes more of, British director being like, let's paint the American South. It feels more like painting in broad strokes. But I should also, it's also worth mentioning that all of those things are at the beginning of the movie.
Yes,
which is read from these main characters' perspectives. So it can be read as they don't put anything like that in the back half of the movie. The back half of the movie is entirely free of that. There's even like when the assault happens, one of the two men that commit the assault is missing his teeth. And that becomes a part of identifying that man later in the movie. And they run into a man who is missing his teeth, but he has dentures in. He's got false, like, so this perception of these backwoods hillbillies, rather than actually like being people that will go get dental care, is then debunked. And I think the back half of the movie has so much grace and sympathy for these people that are having to uproot their lives in this town. There's a scene where there's a church being moved on a flatbed truck through the center of the town, or they have to dig up the graves of the cemetery because it's all going to be flooded, and it's presented as like beautiful and elegiac and heartbreaking. Meanwhile, these two sniveling little shits can't get their fucking stories straight and can't trust each other because they don't have any sense of community, because they are fucking the epitome of American exceptionalism and self-determination of we're going to do it ourselves. And when they fuck up, they can't lean on each other because they can't fucking trust each other because they don't know each other. And they don't have each other's best interest at heart. They're inherently selfish pieces of shit. This movie feels like a critique of who Jon Voight is now, right? This movie feels like a critique of who you think the audience for this movie would be.
Yeah. You're really changing my mind about this, Drew. I'm so glad that we're talking about it. I really see your point, and I really see the movie through that lens now. And I do think the movie has interesting things to say about Appalachia in terms of, the reason Appalachia is the way that it is, why it's so hard there and so complicated and so poor, is they have, from the beginning of America, been victimized by corporate interests from outside of the region who exploit their natural resources and the people that live there. So first it was logging, then it was coal mining, then it was the opioid addiction. I mean, we know from documentation that Appalachia was chosen to be the recipient of the opioid crisis because of the kind of jobs people had there and the vulnerability that they had there. So drug companies chose them to be the recipients of that crisis. So I'm probably being a little bit sensitive about it, and I think the movie is maybe more sophisticated.
It's an issue that I think is a problem and should be addressed. I think this movie is a lot more complex than I prior gave it credit for, and I think most people give it credit for.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to read the novel.
I've heard that the author is kind of a piece of shit.
James Dickey. I mean, he's in the movie. He's the sheriff at the end of the movie.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I was reading interviews with Burt Reynolds and John Boorman, and John Boorman said that he was there through like the whole shoot, and everyone like didn't know what to do with him, and that throughout the shoot he was drunk the whole time. And he would sidle up next to John Boorman and whisper and be like, "You can't tell anyone this, but this really did happen to me. All of this really did happen to me." And then he would sign up to Burt Reynolds and say, "You can't tell anyone this, but all of this really did happen to me." He would do that to everyone. And they were all like, "Oh my God, really?" And then they did, like, when they were like about to like start doing the canoe stuff, he got in a canoe with Ned Beatty to like, maybe take some publicity photos or like test it out. And as soon as he just got in a canoe with Ned Beatty was like, "Oh, this man's never been in a canoe in his life. This is all bullshit. That's bullshit. I don't buy that for a minute."
He also, John Borman rewrote some of the script, and he got so mad that he punched him. They had a fist fight.
Yeah.
And so after that, he was banned from the set. And then later they became dear friends for the rest of their life. But
That's cute.
seems like he may have had a drinking problem, is my take on it.
That's what it sounds like. Watching this movie, I thought of something near the end as like a parallel, because what I know about John Borman, again, my big exposure to him before this was Point Blank, the Lee Marvin film, which is very much a like 60s action man movie that's then by John Borman's direction and editing is filtered through the lens of French New Wave, and it feels more akin stylistically to like masculine feminine or pro Le Fou than it does anything with Lee than the Dirty Dozen or something like that. It's incredible. And I was thinking about John Borman's really, really highbrow tastes and his really kind of experimental style. There's a lot of experimental editing in the beginning of this film that then filters into the more naturalistic storytelling. This movie was nominated for Best Editing at the Oscars and Best Directing and Best Picture, and rightfully so. But the thing that I kind of like realized once we got into the meat of it and got to the ending of the movie, that this is essentially an American version of the Jacques Deray film La Piscine with Alain Delon and Romy Schneider.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
It's a hangout movie about 4 people that are gonna like set up and just hang out and like be by bodies of water, and then when something goes south, it then kind of turns into a Columbo episode for the last half hour. It's very similar to La Piscine in like a shocking amount of ways, just with a lot more, I think, social and political subtext to it. And obviously a vastly different setting than, you know, the expensive French countryside. But I was really kind of blown away by that realization that this is a lot closer to that than, again, what I thought this was going to be, which is something like Rambo. And throughout watching it and our conversations after, Ivory kept comparing this to Easy Rider, which I think is a very, very similar film and a very adequate comp, because they're both very much death of the 60s and then into the 70s. Both like, this is probably more a critique of masculinity than that one is, but in the way that Straw Dogs is. But I think they're both critiques of America in different ways. Whereas like
it's
Easy Rider is the like guys on the road epic, and these men are technically homeless and just riding a motorcycle and looking for freedom, connecting with people, and then are fucked over by America and the system. These are the men doing the fucking over. Like Deliverance is like, what if we followed the guys from the truck at the end of Easy Rider and gave them their own movie? That's Deliverance.
It's also like kind of an exploitation movie, just like a really classy one. And if you want a trashier version of this, but still very good and a lot of fun, there's a Canadian movie from 1977 called Rituals, which is just Deliverance, but kind of turned up a bit in terms of violence and action. And it's a lot of fun. It's just, it dials up the knob towards Texas Chainsaw Massacre a little bit more, but it's good. A really good movie.
That's crazy. Oh, Hal Holbrook. That makes sense.
Yeah. Hal Holbrook is in it. It's pretty good.
I will say this movie came out amid and maybe kind of sparked off a very like man versus nature genre of movie making, which obviously Ozploitation jumped all over. Australia put out a lot of movies like that in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Canada definitely put out like Grizzly and Jaws, and like a lot of that stuff kind of comes out of Deliverance. And I mean, John Borman would then make The Emerald Forest, and before that had made Hell in the Pacific with Toshiro Mifune and Lee Marvin. So like the idea of a like thinking man's existentialist survival film is very much in his wheelhouse. I've only ever seen Point Blank and Deliverance, so I am now like really sold on John Borman. So maybe it's time for me to finally watch Exorcist II: The Heretic
I've heard it's a super interesting movie.
I imagine it's going to be better than I expect it's going to be. But I was
People
also
love
thinking
it. Definitely has a cult following.
I was thinking about it a little bit while watching Deliverance, that I think it's interesting that after Deliverance, obviously The Exorcist was a huge hit, and John Boorman was offered to direct the sequel to The Exorcist, and John Boorman famously hated The Exorcist, thought it was poorly made, and thought it was a bad movie. And so when he went into The Exorcist 2, he was like, I'm going to do my own thing, and I'm going to fix all the things that I think are wrong with The Exorcist. And obviously, it did poorly, but William Friedkin famously kind of took offense to that. And so while watching Deliverance, I was like, was Sorcerer his way of getting back at John Boorman by making his Deliverance also 4 men on a trek through the rough terrain?
Wow, that's super interesting.
The Tangerine Dream score, which is incredible, aside, I think Deliverance is a better and more interesting and complex film than Sorcerer.
Well, I've been on record of not being a Sorcerer fan on this podcast. I did not like that movie.
I will say Sorcerer is very, very, very good, but it's already pales in comparison to The Wages of Fear, which it's a remake of. So
Right.
it's going to be tough to come over that hurdle. Whereas I feel Deliverance is exceptionally unique. And the thing that I was talking with Ivory about after was like, this was a hit. In 1972, this was
huge hit.
This was a huge hit. This was a big box office hit. This was like, let's go out to the movies and go see Deliverance. Like, this made Burt Reynolds a star. So, I'm sure Dom DeLuise was very thankful for the success of Deliverance, because then his whole career was set from here on out. And also, we would never get anything like this now. Warner Brothers definitely wouldn't give, like, a couple $100,000, $1 million to someone to go make this in any way, shape, or form. And goddamn, do I miss that. But also, it's funny to think my perception of Deliverance before seeing it as a more like trashy, violent dude movie, I think is probably the version that would have been made if it had been made later in Burt Reynolds' career, had like it been directed by Hal Needham, like Jerry Reed would have been playing the Ronnie Cox part, like it would have been it would have been Dom DeLuise as Ned Beatty. Like,
yeah, I mean, the 80s version of Deliverance totally plays like Rambo or even Predator, but without the alien. You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of movie it would be. So. And I'm sure it would have a charm of its own as well. But I'm really grateful for the movie that we have.
I just think I'm really blown away finally ticking off some of these 70s films that up until the last 3-4 years I hadn't seen, that I kind of had a perception of like, oh, through cultural osmosis, I get it. Like, guys go on a canoeing trip, get in trouble, violence ensues, there's a horrifying rape scene, got it. Mean Streets, oh yeah, first Scorsese gangster movie, Robert De Niro and Harvey Keitel, I got it, I get it. And every single time I watch one of those movies, I'm always like, this is so much better and so much more interesting and complex than anyone could have possibly said. And all the like contemporary comps people compare this to ain't shit compared to what this actually is.
I know.
Oh my God.
The 70s are so goated. I mean, the movies from the 70s are just so good. There's nothing else like it.
Oh my God. Well, now that you know who Ned Beatty actually is, I highly recommend you go watch Network and Wise Blood.
I've seen those movies. I've seen many, many, many Ned Beatty movies. I don't know what is going on in my head.
Nashville?
Maybe Nashville I've seen also.
Maybe you need to go watch some Warren Oates movies then. Maybe you need to go watch Stripes and Tulane Blacktop.
I've seen many Warren Oates movies. I don't know what is wrong with me. Anyway, let's play our favorite game, Have They Seen It?, where we speculate wildly whether notable figures have seen this movie. One of the most beloved figures in America, and actually, scientifically speaking, is the most popular celebrity in the United States across all demographics. Do you think Dolly Parton, Angel on Earth, saw Deliverance in 1972?
That's so funny, because not long after watching this for the first time, Ivory and I hopped in her car and she had the new, oh God, what's her name? that really famous pop singer right now?
Chapel Rowan?
No.
Sabrina Carpenter?
She had the new Sabrina Carpenter album in her car, and it had like a Dolly Parton collab song on
Oh,
there
I
with
love
her.
that.
So we were listening to that like right after watching Deliverance. Probably talking about Deliverance while listening to it. I love Dolly Parton so much.
I mean, everybody does. Literally, scientifically speaking, everyone across all demographics loves Dolly Parton.
Not long after, did Best Little Horror House in Texas with Burt Reynolds. This movie was a big hit, and I think that that nude bearskin rug spread of his was also a huge hit and helped the marketing. He famously said that he thinks it hurt them winning Best Picture, but they were up against The Godfather, so I don't know.
Yeah, they weren't.
I don't know about that. I think Dolly has definitely seen this movie. I think Dolly hasn't seen this movie since 1972. I think she saw it in theaters in 72 and was like, "God damn." I think she
seems
likes
like somebody,
it, but I don't see her ever watching it again.
Totally. I was going to say, she seems like somebody who only watches, like, I only watch positive films, you know what I mean? Like, which I love from her, but not from other people.
Yeah. She can do whatever she wants. I'll say that now.
She gave us the vaccine.
I know. I've got some of her juice in my body.
She's
right
incredible.
Now.
And every time she gets close to being a billionaire, she gives away enough money that she isn't a billionaire.
I love her so much. She's done so much to take care of her part of the country and the world flat out.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So recently in the promotion of his latest movie, Bong Joon-ho was on the red carpet for Mickey 17, and they asked him the Letterboxd asked him his 4 favorite movies, and one of them was Deliverance.
Oh, really?
So Bong Joon-ho is like cited as being a really, really, really big fan of this movie. So I'm wondering, do you think if one of the stars of Mickey 17, Toni Collette, has seen Deliverance? Australia's favorite daughter, Toni Collette.
That's really interesting. That's a really interesting one because they're so far afield in a way. Although she's done so many like arty-farty movies and is a really smart, cool person. And she's not quite old enough that she brought ABBA back single-handedly. She's not quite old enough that she would have been like old enough to see this movie when it was new. You know what I mean? She would have been a little kid in 1972. If she was even born yet. I think yes.
Yeah.
I think yes.
I think so too.
She's a real actor's actor. She's really into like dark, difficult characters and performances. So I think she'd be drawn to this for its darkness. And I think she would really like this movie because she's smart.
You know what, Josh? You raise a great point. Hollywood, we're in a like post-Hillary Clinton woke Hollywood. We need the all-ladies remake of Deliverance. All-female cast Deliverance.
Do you know what I was thinking watching this? I was like, a horror version of this is kind of The Descent, which is all women.
It's flat out The Descent. That's kind of the joke. No, The Descent flat, like 1,000,000% is the horror version of this. Down to the like woman who's like, oh, I picked a spot. I'm going to take us there. This, like, I'm the one who found this. It's definitely on a map. It's definitely been explored before. She's the Burt Reynolds character. Like, flat out.
I will also say, since we're talking about The Descent, in my opinion, since the 2000s, we don't talk about the 2000s that much because it's like a hellscape of a horror decade. The Descent, best horror movie of the 2000s, and it's not close. At least from America or the English-speaking world.
I was about to say, do you realize how many bangers Pedro Almodovar put out during the 2000s? Oh, you mean
I don't think of those as horror films, though.
Oh, you're saying that in the horror genre. You're just saying that in the horror genre.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I would say The Devil's Rejects, but I know you don't like Rob Zombie. But I'll let you have The Descent. I'll let you have that one.
I think what comes close is House of the Devil. To me, is like very close.
Yeah.
But those were the two movies where I was like, after dipping out of horror for a few years, I was like, oh, we're back. Okay, we're back. Yeah. And then we had the 2010s, which is a great decade for horror. So anyway.
Yeah. So this movie was the screen debut of Ned Beatty, famously. It was also the screen debut of Ronnie Cox, who is still with us. He's outrageously talented character actor. He was just in that Lucille Ball movie with Nicole Kidman a couple years ago. He's very much still working, which is fabulous. He's most well known for being in another movie that I feel like also has a perception of like, yeah, that's just a dude action movie, until people watch it and are like, no, this is incredibly a politically conscious and far left field movie, which is Paul Verhoeven's RoboCop. He's the villain in RoboCop. He's one of like three villains in RoboCop. And he was also in Paul Verhoeven's other sci-fi film, Total Recall, which isn't as good, but it's notable.
I love Total Recall.
But both of those are very much like icons of the next decade of the 80s and of the kind of movie that Deliverance isn't, and that people think Deliverance is. Ronnie Cox was also in Beverly Hills Cop, which I think also is a very like Reagan era film, for better or worse. It's another like post Dirty Harry like cop goes rogue to solve a case movie, but it's Eddie Murphy. It's a comedy. He's in LA. So it doesn't have the like mean streak of that, but it's still very much a part of that mold. And so it's interesting to me that Rodney Cox has been in that many movies post Deliverance that kind of fall into that perception. But multiple films for Paul Verhoeven. Do you think that the Dutch master himself has seen Deliverance?
I think so. I think I like to think that that filmmakers in general see a lot of films. You'd think that they would, despite Darren Aronofsky insisting that he doesn't.
Oh, God.
And that it's not important. I think it actually is important. And so for that reason, I think he'd want to see all the greats. And I think that this is one of the greats. He'd like this movie a lot. I think he'd probably wish it had more sex or something.
Yeah.
But
I could see Paul Verhoeven being like, why can't they stop on the river and they meet like some hillbilly women and they're washing their clothes and they're washing their clothes on the river and they take them with them. Yeah.
I love Paul Verhoeven movies. I love them.
He's the best. Ivory and I always joke about him and Russ Meyer and a few other directors as walking on set and going, all right, ladies, let's get them tops off. Tits out, tops off. Let's go. And you know what? Sometimes that's the right vibe for the right movie. And if you do it respectfully, that works.
Yeah.
I'm just now seeing... Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry. You go ahead.
I'm also, speaking of whether or not certain directors have seen Deliverance or not, looking at the Letterboxd, I can see that Alan Arkish, the director of Rock and Roll High School, A, has a Letterboxd, B, has seen Deliverance and has logged it and has given it half a star, and he clearly hates it.
Whoa! Alan Arkish directed my first Lemony Snicket episodes, but I didn't get to meet him because I wasn't on set. Yeah.
You didn't get to have a long conversation about why he doesn't like Deliverance?
No, but I would love to talk about Rock and Roll High School, one of my favorite movies as a child.
Get Crazy?
Yeah. Great soundtrack to both of those. So I'm thinking of the country music, I guess. This is a hillbilly movie. Do you think that more contemporary than Dolly Parton, although she's contemporary, she's still alive and still the best. Do you think Shania Twain has seen Deliverance?
I don't know why, but I thought you were going to say Larry the Cable Guy, and I was like, oh, God.
God. I haven't thought about him in at least 20 years.
Wait, are you telling me that you don't get her done? You don't? What do you do if you're not, what do you do if you don't get her done? Oh my God. Yeah, Shania Twain. I'm gonna say I don't think Shania Twain has seen Deliverance.
No, I don't.
Shania
think so
Twain sounds like seems like someone who like I'm sure has had a lot of boyfriends who tried to show her Deliverance and it was like no. I'm sure she's aware of the movie and I'm sure she's aware of the controversial elements of the movie and has been like, I'm not subjecting myself to that, which is a shame because it's a very good movie.
Yeah. And I also think, no disrespect to Shania Twain, I have nothing but warm feelings towards her. I guess I'm like neutral to warm towards her. I don't really know much about her. I don't think that she's like a film buff.
No.
You know, it's just like my
I
gut
feel like-
instinct on her.
I feel like if there's a big enough movie at the box office, if there's like a big enough smash Marvel movie or something like that, she'll go to see that. I'm sure she watches Hallmark movies around the holidays. I feel like she probably watches more TV than movies.
I think so too. I bet she watches a lot of reality TV, and I bet she loves movies like The Notebook, Bridges in Madison County. Like, I think she's into that. Like movies that adult women could go see with their elderly mother on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. I feel like if she, was stopped by like Letterboxd or like TCM and was like on the spot asked to name like her 4 favorite movies and felt like she had to be giving a prestigious answer or something like that, it would be like It's a Wonderful Life, right?
Yeah.
Like that.
Safe classics.
I feel like
probably aren't true even. I think she just is like, oh, what's a good answer?
I feel like she watches Sweet Home Alabama with Reese Witherspoon a lot.
I bet she loves Reese Witherspoon. I bet she hasn't seen Deliverance, but she has seen Wild and loves it.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. Wild, which feels like the definition of like, if you're depressed, you just need 2 pairs of shoes that lace, not a bottle that rattles. Like,
thank you for listening to this episode of Bloodhaus. Please rate it wherever you listen to podcasts. You can email us at bloodhousepod@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram. Drusilla, where are you?
You can find me over at sisterhidedesign.com. All my work is out up there. New stuff dropping very, 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 very soon. By the time this episode comes out, something will be hitting soon. So watch my website and watch the Criterion Collection's website, because there will be something new hitting there very soon I can't talk about yet. And if you want to like see me in person or buy VHS tapes for me or Blu-rays or t-shirts and stuff like that, I will be at Revenge of over in Highland Park on April 26th, vending from a booth, vending tapes. They're having a tape swap, and it's gonna be a fucking banger. It's gonna be a great day. A whole bunch of other great people are gonna be out there. Great t-shirt vendors, tape vendors, artists, tattoo artists. It's gonna be a great day, so come through. You can also follow me on Letterboxd if you look for Drusilla Adeline or Sister Hyde. You can follow me on there, and on Instagram and Blue Sky at Sister Hyde. What about you, Josh? How can people duel your banjo?
You can wander into my wilderness at Joshua Conkel on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Next week, we're watching kind of a weird one. It is in the new folk horror box set by our the love of our lives, Kayla Janice. What is the movie?
We will be watching a movie that I've been trying to get on Bloodhaus since episode 3. It just physically hasn't been available. I've been so excited to watch this movie. I'm so excited to finally get it on Bloodhaus. We will be watching the 1950s Finnish folk horror vampire tale from director Eric Blomberg. We will be watching The White Reindeer.
Very curious about that one. See you next week. Thank you. Bye. All right, we got it.
Yay.